Hi, I'm Christie, the Motive Guide. I'm a certified Enneagram coach, and this is your guide to the Type 6. Maybe you've taken an Enneagram assessment and it scored you as a Type 6, or you know for sure, hey, I am a Type 6. I've heard that, I've read that, and I want to discover more about the Type 6. Or maybe you have a family member or a friend and they've told you, I'm a Type 6, and you're like, what does that mean? Well, you're in the right place. This is an overview of the Type 6. And what I like to do is start off by going through all the different names that type goes by, and then we talk about why. So let's begin. There are many different names that the Type 6 goes by, but the most popular, most common name for a Type 6 is the Loyalist. So they're called the Loyalists. They're also called the Guardians. I like the books that combine those and call them the Loyal Guardians. They're also called the Skeptic. And they can go by the title of Troubleshooter. And so let's discuss why they're called those names a little bit. They're called the Loyalist because that emphasizes how loyal they are. They are really committed and have a sense of duty to people or causes that they believe in. And a lot of times they can seek security and support from leaders or family groups or teams that they want to associate with and that they get along with, and then they become loyal to that group. Then you have the Guardians. So this name reflects their tendency to be protectors and cautious. They're vigilant. They're always like scanning for problems that could happen or dangers. And they take on that role of protecting themselves and others that they care about. They can be called the Skeptic because they are very analytical in nature, and they have this tendency to question things. And they want to question these things because they want to anticipate, any problems that might be coming down the pipe. And they want to watch out for that because they do struggle with overthinking, which we're going to talk about. And then they can also be called the Troubleshooters, and this name emphasizes their ability to see, these different problems and solve them. They're great problem solvers, but they also just, they're actively seeking things that could go wrong, and they want to fix that and solve it right away. So that is some of the names that they go by. So Type 6s are in the head, the thinking triad, and we're going to have a whole different video that talks about those different triads, but just know that they're in the head thinking triad along with types 5, 6, and 7. It is a little bit funny for the Type 6s to be in that triad. They're really repressed in that thinking because they overthink so much that they can actually have a hard time making decisions. And part of the big struggle with a Type 6 is they have this inner committee, kind of like these internal voices that really, they're the biggest source of the Type 6's anxiety. So you can imagine, if you have someone or have like a whole committee throwing, conflicting information. What have you thought about this? What about this? So, what if this happens? What if this happens? It can really cause a lot of stress and anxiety, and also keep you from making a decision. Now, a little distinction between the 1 who has the inner critic and the 6 who has the inner committee. Just keep in mind with a Type 1, the inner critic is like one internal voice that's very berating on the Type 1 and just always criticizing and putting them down, where the internal committee of the Type 6, that's a little bit different. It's not just berating them, it's just throwing lots of information at them, and can really hang them up and gets them entangled in that overthinking. With all types, and anytime you're studying the Enneagram and learning about the different types, you always want to go back to the core motivations. And we always start with the core fear, and the core fear for the type sixes is really fear itself. They are just full of anxiety a lot of times, but specifically they fear being without support or guidance or security. They also really fear being blamed or even targeted. And they have a big fear of being alone, and that can also include physical abandonment. So those are some of their fears. And we talked a little bit about how the internal committee is kind of a source of that anxiety and fear. I also want to point out how type sixes have almost like two types within themselves. There is the phobic type 6, and there's the counterphobic type 6. And really, I mean, a type 6 can rest in one or the other, but most of the time it's kind of like a spectrum or a scale that they can kind of float along back and forth in. But the phobic type 6 looks more like what we traditionally think of a type 6. You can see that they have anxieties and fears, and they verbalize that, and they verbalize their need for support and can get frustrated in decision making. So that's the phobic type 6. It's way more obvious that they're a type 6, where the counterphobic type 6 really pushes into their fears. They let the fear fuel them, and they can almost look like an assertive type. A lot of times the counterphobic type 6 can get mistyped as a type 8 because they push into that fear, and like I said, they use it to fuel them, so they become much more outspoken and tough. So this can be a little bit confusing, especially if you are more on that counterphobic 6 side. Remember, your core motivations are the same, but because of those tough, a little bit more assertive exteriors, you could look like a type 8. So keep that in mind. If you're having people say, I think you're a type 8, and you're looking at the motivations going, no, I'm a type 6. So keep that in mind. Those are the fears. Then on the flip side of the fears are the desires, and simply the desires are the opposite of the fears. Type 6 desires to have security. They desire to have guidance and support. So they're always longing for, craving, or moving towards situations where they can fulfill those desires. Okay, next we have the weakness or the vice, or some teachers call it the sin of the type. And for the type 6, that is anxiety. We've talked a lot about anxiety and fear already, so you can see how that comes into play for a type 6. But for them, it's said to be like they're constantly scanning the horizon and looking for things that could go wrong. You know, that could go wrong. Have you thought about that? What if this happens? What if that person says this? So they're always scanning and looking out for those things. For the type 6, the message that they're longing to hear is you are safe and secure. Again, this goes along with that theme of the fear and anxiety. Well, of course, their hearts are longing to know that they are safe and secure. Now, that's a really tough message that a lot of us are longing to hear in this crazy world and society where we are lacking safety and security. So just be aware of that. If you have a 6 on your team and you haven't ever thought of that, just let them know that they are safe with you. They're okay to talk about their emotions and even their fears, and you're not going to just brush them off. Let them have a safe and secure place. All right, next we have great things about the type 6. 6s are prepared. Remember, we talked about they can see all the scenarios. scenarios, well, they can be prepared for all the different scenarios as well. They're trustworthy, committed. This goes along with being loyal to people and causes. They are hard-working people, great to have on your team. And I've mentioned this several times already. They're great problem solvers. So on to some areas for growth. A lot of these tips that I have for you type 6s revolve around working on your inner committee. So you want to realize that the inner committee is a big source for your anxiety. And that's because it gives you conflicting information. So first of all, just recognize that that is what's happening in your life. So you can listen to this inner committee and acknowledge that it's bringing you all these different things. But then you need to, I would say, back up and then trust in yourself to make a good decision and to move forward. Don't get stuck in that spinning out pattern or the just conflicting, I got to think about that some more. You start to trust in yourself or that one person that you get guidance from, and then you've got to make that leap forward into making a decision. Another tip for you is to incorporate silence and solitude into even your daily routine. Just take some time to quiet down, quiet the inner voices, calm them, try to tone down the emotions of those voices as well. And that's going to help bring clarity to decision making that you need to get done. Another thing to work on is recognize when you're projecting on others. So type 6s have this defense mechanism where they start projecting things that they think are going to be problems or behaviors or situations, like this could go wrong, that could go wrong, and they actually project it on other people when it's not really even happening. So start to recognize when you're doing that. Is this really a problem, or is this something in my head that I'm kind of projecting on someone else? And that's really going to help you. That's going to help with that team dynamic as well, where you're not just automatically shooting down someone's ideas because you're not projecting disaster on every scenario. So work on that, and then also just remember that you can be safe and secure. You have family and friends in your life that can help you feel secure in this world. And I would definitely recommend rooting that message into your spiritual life and drawing on your faith and your spirituality to help remind you that you are safe and secure. I hope this video helps you get to know a type 6 better. Type 6s, feel free to let me know what I missed, or if you have questions, or I can't believe she talked about whatever it is, put that down in the comments, because I would love to communicate more and let you guys have some answers to some of your questions. I will dig up the answers if I don't know it already. Also, type 6s, if you would like to grow some more, I would love to work with you. I have 5 sessions that take a deep dive into the type 6. It's tailored just for a type 6, and we talk about paths of growth, blind spots. We uncover those. We look at childhood messages. We really focus on levels of health. We just do a deep dive into that, and then I give you accountability for growing through what you learn. So if that's something you'd be interested in, definitely contact me. Maybe after watching this video, you've realized I am not a type 6, or maybe I am and I just don't know. Maybe I'm a counterphobic type 6 and that gets confusing. Well, we could always do a 1-hour typing session together, and that helps you discover your main type so you can dive in and grow from there. And as always, you can take my free Enneagram assessment. It's found on my website, themotiveguide.com. It's a great place to start. You can also find out more information about the Enneagram, about workshops, about coaching, couples coachings, team coaching, and all that good information on my website. All right, little Type 6s and friends of Type 6s, I have enjoyed being here with you, and I look forward to our next video together.